Hi, everybody. I just wanted to hop in quick before today's episode to remind you that we are doing a giveaway of 6 months of Realms Plus subscription. All you gotta do is subscribe and leave a comment. The more comments, the more chances you have to win. See our community tab for the full rules and conditions of the contest. And with that, let's get on with today's episode. Welcome back to Shifted Reality, Season 2, Episode 35. Did you know the YouTube analytics say that the majority of people who watch this have definitely watched the intro where I talk about my latest giveaway, as well as this? But very few of you are actually taking advantage of that to leaving a comment to enter to win. Is the prize just not good enough for you to comment, or is the 5 seconds to comment too much? I don't know. Leave a comment below, let me know what I'm doing right or wrong. Or leave a comment if you know what I said I was going to do last episode, but didn't actually get around to because we spent all our time on this nether portal. If you commented that said I was going to finish this road and fix it to get up to the higher levels, then congratulations, you win a cookie. However, if you want to win the prize of 6 months of Round Plus subscriptions, you gotta continue to enter those comments on every video for more chances to win. And with that, let's get on with today's episode. Okay, I swear I'm not procrastinating on building up that road yet again. I know it's been like 2 weeks that we started that, but my son did ask me if I couldn't help put a top on this. Basically, we need to put a light on top of the lighthouse, so let's get up there and take a look at what we're working with. So there's a solid foundation up here and plenty of room to work with. We can definitely put in some sort of rotating redstone light. We just need to gather up some resources for lamps. Let's see. So 24 to 48 lamps. So let's probably gonna need to trade for some more redstone. So we only have the resources to make about a third of the redstone lamps that we need. And then we're probably going to need to trade for some more redstone and glowstone in order to make the remaining that we need, and then we can get to work on animating a moving light up there. So here we just put in a very simple rotating light. We have 3 on each side and it goes up by 1, and a minecart swirling around on the inside. Now if I put another one down, you notice it doesn't come up because it's just the redstone signal that goes up the 1 block as it passes underneath. And so any additional levels of light, I need to bring up some redstone of some sort. And I'm not really sure the best way to go about that, if I want to go about it at all. Because here's my thought. I do know how I could put a 3x3 light on top of this and make it up a little bit higher, but I don't know if I will get the same speed rotation. So we're gonna check this out from a distance here and see how it looks. Okay, it seems like you might actually need to get a little bit close for the light to start rendering in. Hopefully it's load stable. So I added in some redstone torches to keep the powered rails powered. Hopefully that will keep it chunk loaded safe. And let's check it from a distance again. So we're definitely running into some issues with load distance and how far the entity of the minecart keeps moving. But at the very least, adding in the powered redstone torch underneath the powered rails to keep those powered at all times seems to be helping it. Now I did think about raising up the lighthouse light bulb up 1 block so I could add a smaller layer underneath and create almost like a bulb-like effect. However, on testing of whether or not that would work, I kept getting the corners permanently lit up just in the way to keep the minecarts from being chunk loading stable. Because otherwise, the minecarts end up getting stuck when the chunks are unloaded and versus running. And just the way of keeping the minecarts moving in the corners just unfortunately requires that, there's a redstone signal right in the corner. So unless if anyone can think of a different solution to that, I think this is the best we're going to get for our light. And hopefully that fits what my son was looking for. I'm sure that won't be the last of the lighthouse that we look at, and there might be future episodes where we're asked to do something more for it. But in the meantime, we'll let that sit until he has a chance to review it and maybe put the roof on and finish the stairs that he wants to do. But in the meantime, the reason I didn't get to the stairs here is because I knew it was generally a simple process. I figured there's probably enough room, maybe not enough for a road between the two, but there was enough for a gradual inclination, which is what we put in. And since we were working at adjusting the different levels of this, I went ahead and put in a few additional spots. Come on. Yep, this upper area is not mob-proofed at all. There's still plenty of spots for mobs to come at us. So let's make it day so we can finish a little tour of what we did and what we're planning to do. So as I was saying, it was pretty simple to put on a gradual slope upwards here and connect it to this main level. And even though we still have several spots that mobs can spawn around here, as our lighting and mob proofing are not spectacular in this top area yet, since we spent very little time up here, we definitely have the start of where we're coming with this. And to that end, I started connecting up some of these other natural roads that existed. There's a few spots I need to do if I want to eliminate any unnecessary jumping, but it comes up and around and reconnects. And again, there's always another wall that the road leads you to, so there's going to be more to fix. Don't worry, we have lots to do. But in the meantime, let's focus on this level. There's several things that need some mob proofing right here, such as this little cave back here, I guess. I could just simply fill it up and close it off, but as long as there's no mobs in here, let's pop on through. It does have a natural pass through to the lower basin here, so we might keep it for that benefit. We just need to make it a little bit wider, easier to navigate, and of course light it up. There's this aspect where the road is coming this way and the village expects it to reconnect up there. And I have taken out some blocks here that otherwise would have lined up with that little indent. But it is very clear that this raise to this house from the mason's house is a little too steep to allow for an immediate connection. And we still have the issue of all this overhang stuff just does not look natural or like it would stay up on its own, as well as a lot of this. But at the same time, we don't want to encroach too much onto the house that's up there. So the question comes into, how do we make it so that this road does continue to connect up to there, while making this all feel natural and better filled in, and so that if a villager establishes there and comes back down to the mason's workshop house here, that they can navigate and find their way back and forth again. Because obviously it's currently impossible for the Minecraft villager AI to do that kind of pathfinding, so we just gotta make it simpler. And what I think we're going to focus on is basically just take this default vanilla mason house and we are going to upgrade it to fill in all of this space right here. Hey guy, where did you come from? Anyway, so we have a fair amount of space to work with for the mason house expansion. We just got to carve back some stone and dirt and get to work on that. Okay, so here's my plan. I need to connect it up this way. Rather than going straight up, we pulled it back in order to follow up the wall line this way. And a few creeper explosions helped clear out the space. But it was almost already perfectly slanted to go down this way, just maybe a little steeper than I would prefer in any kind of general build. So we added in this kind of little stairway up to a mini bridge that was then feeding off of having some support structures to kind of justify the overall expansion of the dirt blocks above there. You know, just something to give a visual representation that physics are not somewhat in play at least. I'm thinking about what to do with here, and I think there maybe could be something interesting I could get out of here. I'm just not really sure if I'm going to or not. But beyond that, our main project, our main expansion is going to be this mason house, which has always kind of bothered me because, you know, it has a workstation and this little workroom for the mason, but no actual bedroom. And we wanted to extend out and advance this hallway, which now we have a couple volunteers. Interesting. Oh, you. Oh, you bastard. Oh, where. I was going to save those guys. Didn't know they were there. And they were going to save them. And. Oh. Really? Anyway. What I was saying is. We're going to do a little two-prong exit from the Mason's workstation. One is going to come back this way and have a back door exit. Come back into this little area back here, and they'll help us connect later with other things. And this other side is going to serve as just a little bedroom for our Mason that will eventually be moved into here. All right, let's get back to work. Okay, so here's an example of the build getting away from me when I'm not actually recording. I'm just getting in a build zone and I focus on ideas rather than what I want to say. So here, I wanted to upgrade the Mason house, the vanilla Mason house, to be something that felt more like an actual house and how I would do a Mason house in the vanilla style. And so then I was looking at the base materials. You have cobblestone, white terracotta, and the wood, specifically oak wood. And this actually reminded me of a real world house not too far from where I live that is made out of white stucco. And now that real world house has the white stucco kind of crumbling. It's a bit old, maybe needs a little bit of maintenance. And so you can see the brick walls popping out from underneath of where the stucco has kind of cracked and fallen away. And so I started off with my expansion into the creating the living space for our mason to kind of create that, you know, little bit of a maintenance need thing. So like the walls maybe need to be fixed up a little bit. And, you know, it's a bit older, got that crumbled away. And then I added on the back hallway that, because as I said, I wanted to have this ultimately connect down into this, you know, dip bowl thing here. I got ideas for what I want to do with this. We'll get to that if we get to it, if we have time before the season ends. And then I was like, oh, it didn't really look right having this come out without having a second story on it. And then I built that up, and then I'm like, okay, well, now I'm kind of having this like red spot lifting up because I'm doing the same cracked stucco wall idea here. And then as that lifted up, I wanted to put on a little bit of the roof with a chimney up there. And once I kind of extended out the initial roof over a little bit, and with the upside down stairs to kind of give that overhang with a little bit of a blend so it doesn't feel like it's as huge of an overhang as it actually is. It didn't feel right to put it on top of this section as well, but then I wasn't sure how to top that off, and I came up with the idea of like, well, what if just it's a little bit of an asymmetrical second story. And I like how this turned out. I do. I really do like how that turned out. So I'm going to leave that there. And as I said, I wanted to use this interior space to create a kind of a living space. So we put the bed down here. Let's make it day so we don't have to worry about mobs. And added in a second floor little kitchenette area. And again, because of our experience with the mobs down there that kept disappearing on us, I definitely think it was because they were going up to the second floor of their house and falling down and taking damage. And they kept repeating that until they died completely. So I kind of put in a little space here so it requires you to jump, and that will keep any villagers from accidentally climbing up here and coming down and hurting themselves. So this is more so for the player's benefit, obviously, because you shouldn't actually see any villagers climbing up there and doing that. I still have a bit to go here. I need to finish up this area and carry it down to the lower area. And deal with the fact that, light that up so we don't have mobs going in there. Currently it requires a little bit of parkour to get in and out of there, so we're generally safe from mobs, but we don't want to have our villagers getting shot when they come by, so we will get to that as well. And the other thing is this front porch area. While this is a fairly simple design for a front porch, I think we can do better. And unfortunately, what I really would love is wall blocks or stair blocks or slabs of the terracotta. But without that being an option, we are going to turn to our good friend quartz. Because there, with at least quartz, we have slabs and stairs that we can do and put on a nice porch here. So I moved the oak fences to the edge here so that it will prevent villagers from walking off. Of course, naturally I had to make more of them. But then I went ahead and I converted the porch to more of a white. And that's just generally to match the lighter colors. I'm not a super huge fan of it. I don't think the white matches perfectly with white terracotta. I wish I had more of a transition color that would give a similar, lightness, but also had slabs and trapdoors available. But, we work with what we got, right? And then just to kind of cap off that porch, we added in the open fence gates and put a couple fence posts on the sides to hold up some lanterns just to give a nice little finished feel on that roof. The very top of the roof is actually extinguished campfires. It makes a nice cross-hatch pattern. And finally, to really make it all come together, we moved an additional flower box up to the second level. I thought about putting one down here too, but let me know if you think I should come back and add that in anyway. Maybe I'll put a 2 tall flower there and surround it with a little fence gate of some trapdoors. Actually, I like that idea. Let's do that real quick. There we go. That looks nice and complete. And the reason we put in the oak fence gates along the line is just to help establish more of a consistent blend between the slightly too offset colors that didn't quite blend as well as we would want, but we work and get to where we're going. Now all that's left to do is to, get rid of these excess skeletons and clear out this tunnel cave to the what I'm thinking is going to end up being a quarry. I'm not so sure on that, but I just want to be able to get a transition from this level down into there. And this was just a convenient place to put it. So this is where we're going to get a little underground back road. I've lit up this back hallway tunnel thing just to make sure we don't have any more mobs spawning in here. And dug it out to see where we're coming out at. And, ow. Oh, hold on. As I was saying, I wanted to see where we're coming out in, and we have this nice open area down here that I want to hopefully utilize and decorate out and put a purpose to it. So the idea is, with that platform that's right up there, we're going to make a little mining overlook area. So we need to put a stair that kind of probably starts over there and leads up to that side. Make this all feel connected and finish off that tunnel in a more complete fashion. One of the things, I want to make this into a bit of a quarry is my thought, just some kind of large scale mining operation. And when you're making a platform, it's kind of hard to get an idea of the scale of what you eventually will need versus what you need right now. And in this case, part of me is saying you made that platform too big, and other parts of me is saying I didn't make it big enough. The part of me that says it's too big says it sticks out too far. And the part of me that says it's not big enough says I didn't make it wide enough. I didn't make it extend towards that wall far enough. And ultimately, I'm kind of wishy-washy a bit on this, so we're just going to stick with it. We're going to make this all work out. Make it tomorrow been a base problem. Make it tomorrow been a base problem, so never backfired on us before, right? Right? What the heck? What the heck? What are you doing in there? How'd you even get in there? I mean, seriously, did it just wander in, step on the pressure plate, and hello? Okay, this is gonna be very bad if it. And what happened to all the paintings I had? Oh man, the terrain of this quarry is going to be shaped more by creepers than by me, but before we ever get around to it. But let's take a look at what we have here. We did in fact establish a path down into this area. It's not finished. We have some supporting structures in play, but nothing definitive and nothing finalized. Everything here is just a start of what's going to potentially come. But with all things in Minecraft, you do need easy paths that lead you in and out. You don't want to have to be parkouring up a dirt hill or getting stuck in powdered snow somewhere. So that's the purpose of this backdoor hallway. Now, if you remember, we had our pumping station moving water about, so we're bringing that image in, and we're using a couple different mechanics to give kind of a dripping pipe feel. One is a waterlogged piston that kind of gives a instance of pumping and motion that the water is being drawn in, and you can see the water particle effects dripping out from underneath both of those. And again, over here you see the occasional water drop forming from basic waterlogged source blocks, just generating their own dripping effect. But by using the waterlogged piston, we are going to be creating a little bit more frequent drops. And this was a trick that we did pick up in the Buildstone community. So, excellent group of people over there. Always grateful for their support and inspiration. And then we're going to come in here. We put in some more copper pipe here. Lighting rods, but it looks like copper pipe. And that's going to serve the purpose, especially once the copper age comes out and this starts oxidizing. That's going to look a lot better. And otherwise, we are back into our main room of our mason house. And that, my friend, gives us a much more complete much more impressive vanilla mason house than the actual original vanilla mason house. But by all means, please do let us know how you think our mason house came out. Was there anything we missed or anything that you would personally add to help enhance a vanilla mason house into a better, more complete build? Let us know in the comments down below. And until next week, we'll see you soon on the next Shifted Reality. Bye, everybody.